Safari Pedals has a new plugin. It is a channel strip plugin. It is called Camel Strip. Let's check it out. So what you just heard is a song that I recorded here in my home studio, and I used just the Camel Strip on all the tracks. Lies, I actually used the Slate Digital Fairchild compressor, a parallel compressor on the mix bus, and a limiter just to get the level up. But on all the individual tracks and the buses, I just used the Camel Strip. Thanks Gnome over at Safari Pedals for sending over the pre-release version of this plugin for me to check out. So the intro price on the Camel Strip is $55, and if you don't want to watch this whole video and you just kind of want to know what my verdict is, here's the song without the Camel Strip applied to any of the tracks. And here's what it sounded like after I put the Camel Strip across all the tracks and the buses and kind of dialed it in. So here's what I really liked about this plugin. I think first and foremost is that before I even got started with it, I just recorded all my drums and then I just threw it on all the drum tracks, and there was seriously a huge difference in just the way that it sounded without even tweaking anything in the plugin. It was really nice to have the different EQ options. I settled mostly on the Neve 73 style EQ, mostly because it just has that rounding off of the high end that is really smooth and sounds kind of nice. But I did use the SSL style, the 4K EQ on the kick drum, just give it a little bit more snappiness. It's easy to use. You can figure it out really quickly. Using it in the CAMEL console, as I like to call it, kind of workflow, having it across every track and just jumping from track to track, you kind of get in a flow. So this thing really shines, and where I would say that it's worth it just getting for this one instance is on bass. I turned the input drive all the way up. I dimed out the highs, I dimed out the lows, and then used the 76 compressor on it, and it sounded really nice. So some things that I think are good about the plugin, but not exactly great. The gate on here, it's definitely serviceable, and I was able to get a decent sound out of it, but without more features or controls, you're sort of just limited to the hard and the soft gate. And I was able to get good sounds out of, you know, the kick drum and the snare. So having the 3 different style compressors in this plugin is awesome, but I wasn't exactly sure what the one knob was controlling. It's not really explicit in how you use it. You can just kind of crank it up and there's more compression or less compression. You can definitely tell that there's a difference between the attack and the release on, you know, the different styles. The reverb is a really nice touch, but without a filter control on it, you know, on the drums, it would just get a little bit too bunchy in the low end. I used a little bit on the lead guitar, and, you know, it sounded nice, but as you cranked it, the reverb just kind of like takes over, and there's no mix control on it. I bet it would sound kind of nice on a vocal. You can dial it into taste, and probably more subtle with this is better. So what are the things that I don't like? And this may be a shocker because I love all the artwork on the Safari Pedals plugins, but for this particular plugin, I feel like the UI is a little bit too nuts. And if there was a toggle between this UI and a more simple UI, I would probably go for the more simple UI, only because it's a little busy. It's a little busy. Like, you look at it, and especially if you're using it in this console workflow where you have it on every track, maybe if there was something a little more simple and you're doing a marathon mixing session just using the CAMEL strip, you might want something that's a little less intense on the eyes. So overall, I love the fact that I could just throw it across all my tracks and was able to quickly dial in a really good mix just using this one plugin. I called it using the CAMEL console, but for 55 bucks, and you can kind of get results really quickly, and you have that many options, I feel like it's totally worth it. It's a versatile plugin, and I feel like in the field of channel strip plugins, this one stands apart. It has enough unique stuff about it that makes it worth it. Other Safari Pedals plugins that I use the Gorilla Drive on almost everything as like a send. Sounds really nice, like saturation, especially on a drum bus. I use the Flamingo Verb for the room drum sound. That just sounds really, really natural. The Rabbit Tape, which is the last plugin that came out before this one, it's starting to become a favorite because of just how great the saturation sounds on that. Again, affiliate links in the description. Go check them out. If you make a purchase, use those links. Some of that will come back to this channel. Hope you enjoyed this one. Give it a like, give it a subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Later!